Have you ever noticed that the people everybody tends to call strong, they're often carrying the heaviest load? I wish I knew sooner that just because you can handle all of that pressure doesn't mean you're actually handling it well. Today, I'm going to share three stories. One of them is when I was a college athlete, another is from when I was a teacher, and the third is all about motherhood. I used to feel that they were completely unrelated, and now I know that they were all teaching me the same lesson about pressure. You're not trying to eliminate the pressure. The goal is to actually build skills that allows you to perform at your best when the pressure shows up.
Hello, and thank you for joining the Champion Within podcast, your premier go-to spot for unlocking your winning mindset. Whether you're an athlete looking to elevate your game to the next level, a coach leading the charge, an enthusiastic parent cheering from the sidelines, or an educator molding young minds, the Champion Within podcast episodes are packed with value, sharing the tools and strategies to unlock your potential and rise to new heights. Hosted by mentor, coach, and mindset leader Kate McCauley. Let's sit back and enjoy today's episode while discovering your champion within. And now, here's Kate.
There's a lie that I believed, pretty sure I was telling myself this for years, that if I could handle the pressure, I didn't need help. I was wearing this invisible badge of honor. And really, the thing I know now is just because you can handle the pressure doesn't mean you're handling it well. When I mentioned at the start that, have you ever noticed when everyone calls these people who are strong that they're often carrying the heaviest load? There could be so many different people that I'm talking about, but for me specifically, I'm talking about athletes, coaches, parents, teachers, business owners. And I'm talking about these people not just because I work with them, but because I am one of them. And I really do think that a lot of people look at many of these people and think they always seem to have it together. For years, I always had a go-to type answer when things got tough. Something like this: I'm good. I can handle it. I'll figure it out. I thought being mentally tough meant pushing through. What I didn't realize is there's a huge difference between handling pressure and training for pressure. For 20 years, I was in a classroom as a health and phys ed teacher. There was a period in my career, closer towards the end, where pretty much every day I was walking into survival mode. I wasn't just teaching gym and health class. I would walk in and I was constantly scanning the room, the gym, the locker room, not just because we would get an email, which we often did get, to check to see if somebody left something suspicious, but I'd be scanning to see who's upset today, who's about to explode, who's looking for someone else. Some mornings, students would walk into my gym already planning to fight. Some mornings, a fight would break out right in the hallway before the day even began. Not arguing, but a fight. I remember one girl covering herself in Vaseline before heading into the locker room because she knew it would make it harder for the staff, myself as a teacher, the other teacher, and security to grab her, to get a hold of her once the fight started. That wasn't just some crazy story that happened one time. Okay, the Vaseline story happened one time, thankfully, but the norm of the everyday violence in the situation, sadly, was almost every day. You do need to understand, though, that 90% of my students were just there to learn. Amazing kids, but they were all in this state of chaos, just like I was. It made it even harder that there was no appropriate, meaningful consequences from leadership to these students. We'd break up a fight, everyone would get settled, and we'd go right back into teaching. And then we'd do it all again the next day. Every day, I'd be telling myself, you're tough enough. You got this. These kids need you. You can handle this. And honestly, I could, until my body couldn't. My eyes started twitching underneath. I would blame that on just being really tired when someone asked. At home, if something happened with my kids, I would start to have a panic attack. I could feel it happening. I would wake up from nightmares, replaying the day or thinking about things that could happen tomorrow. Looking back, I wasn't weak. My nervous system had simply been living in this survival mode for way too long. Around this same time, life gave me another challenge. My youngest son had started school, and he was diagnosed with ADHD, auditory processing disorder, dyslexia, and had some speech delays. It felt completely overwhelming, especially because he had two older siblings who were just a couple years ahead. And as a teacher mom, I felt a little bit embarrassed. How come I cannot help this kid? I'm an educator. His grandmother's an educator. I have all these educators around me. I was tapping into all of the resources, but I'm thinking, how did I not make this better for him? Am I missing something? I'm his mom. I'm a teacher. I should know what to do. I should know how to help him. Homework? That felt exhausting for him and me. Every IEP meeting felt completely overwhelming in those early years. Sleepless nights, I'd be researching, wondering, am I doing enough? I would always think, how is he going to do this? He's struggling. I'm wondering, am I failing this kid? How's he going to manage life? Then someone introduced me to a book, ADHD the Gift, and I also found visualization, breathing, progressive relaxation, all these mental performance tools people were using in schools and athletes were using. I'm going to admit something. I'm going to be very honest that in the beginning I thought, what the hell? This sounds like some woo-woo, witchery, crazy stuff. I don't know about this. But when you're a mom and you're trying to help your kid be successful, you're going to try anything. And I kept learning. I started to get certified and practice this myself. Little by little, when I was learning it and teaching him, I watched him start to regulate himself. He could calm down faster. He wasn't getting into as much trouble. I'm not going to lie. He still had his moments. He started believing in himself. That was huge. Then his grades started to improve. During COVID, this child in our basement, as I'm teaching virtually, I have other kids in my house. My kids, my nieces were here, all kinds of things going on. He jumped 12 reading levels. He was like a unicorn. People were asking me, what is happening? And something else that I never expected happened. The person who was changing wasn't just him, but it was me too. I couldn't help but regulate his nervous system and also regulate mine because I was in this constant state of fight or flight, not only at school, but with him too. And as I was learning and teaching him, when you teach someone else, you learn it again. These tools were helping me and I started to use them myself. I decided to start using some of this at school. I had a fitness class that I taught, and every Friday we did yoga. My students loved it. And at the end, we would do a relaxation session. I decided to start throwing in some visualization here. I didn't call it that. I just said, we're going to chill out at the end. I would guide them through relaxing their muscles, and I would help them imagine seeing success. Nothing fancy. I didn't give them the back research and the neuroscience. I was helping them slow down their mind and deal with the chaos that they had been dealing with in the building, just like I was dealing with. Then I took it a step further. I did get permission from my principals, but not every teacher loved that I did this. I had a duty that I had to monitor the in-school suspension room. And I'm going to be honest that in this room, the kids were supposed to be doing their work, but they were not doing their work anyway. They were never allowed to put their heads down and sleep. This was a strict rule that so many teachers would go in there and force them to try to do their work. To be quite honest, it was an uphill battle that no one ever won. So I decided, after my principal gave me permission, that I would see if I could get them to chill out and try this visualization. I did not say, today we're going to try progressive relaxation. No way. I didn't talk about the nervous system. I didn't use any words like visualization, progressive relaxation, because if I would have done that, they would have looked at me like I had three heads. Strong chance they would have told me to F off. Somebody might have thrown something. Instead, what I did was I said, I've been doing this with my son. He has ADHD. I'm going to be really honest with you guys and tell you that he's been getting in trouble at school a lot, and it's helped him. I'm not going to lie to you. He's not perfect. Sometimes he still gets in trouble. Do you want to try it? And almost every single time they would say yes. Sometimes some of the kids were like, no, I'm out. And I would just say to them, all right, that's cool. Can you just be quiet? You don't have to do your work. You're not doing it anyway. You can just stay seated in the back. Could you just be quiet so everybody else could try it? We would turn the lights out. They agreed. I'm not making them do their work. They could stay quiet. Yeah, they're in. These were some of the toughest kids in our building who quite honestly had every reason to probably flip out on me, carrying some things and baggage from the outside of our school walls that no student at any age should have to ever carry in life. So these kids, they agreed. They closed their eyes. The room would get quiet. And just for a few minutes, you could actually feel a difference. When they woke up, I would just say to them, okay, you don't really have to do anything with this, but if you want to, next time you see that teacher, if you happen to see them, you could say, hey, I was thinking about it, and this is what I want to do differently. They didn't all do that, but a random one here and there would. And I knew because the teacher would send me an email or come back to me and say, I don't know what you did, but so-and-so told me that they got to sleep in ISS and they came to me and apologized for cursing me out, throwing their paper in the trash, whatever it was, and told me that they were going to try to be better. What you need to know is these tools don't make people soft. They help people who have been carrying so much pressure for way too long. I need to jump in here. Coach, quick question. Do your athletes look amazing at practice, but when the game gets tight or you have a big competition, they panic, lose focus, fall apart, start talking negatively before they even compete, missed plays, bad body language, heads down? You know they have the talent, but pressure is winning. That's not a talent problem. That's a mental side of the sport problem. I run a team program called The Champion Within, where I train athletes using my CHAMP framework: confidence, habits, attitude, mental imagery, and purpose. I literally retrain their brains so they know how to stay calm, get focused, and compete like the champions they are. When the moments get big, they need to know how to regulate their nervous system. It needs to be automatic. The teams that win consistently, they train their minds, not just their bodies. Just go down to the show notes, click on the link, or send me a DM on Instagram with the word team, and I'll get you everything you need. Okay, let's get back to the podcast. I thought back to when I was a college athlete. My coach would say to me, Porter, you good? Porter's my maiden name. Without even thinking, right away, I'd say, yeah, I'm good. Later, after leaving, I'd be replaying every missed shot. I'd be thinking, if I let my teammates down, all the things. Sometimes I'd even be crying once I was alone because I couldn't stop thinking about that one mistake. Nobody ever taught me what to do with those thoughts. I only knew how to work harder. And it's not because they weren't great coaches. When I was a youth athlete, high school level, college, it's not because they weren't great coaches. It's not because they didn't care. No one ever taught them. This wasn't a part of athletics. Myself, as an athlete, I was confusing mental toughness with emotional suppression. When I think back as a basketball coach, when I was that teacher, when I first started, I was coaching a middle school basketball team. Since then, I've coached lots of teams, some being my children's team, some being school teams. Let's say that one of my players couldn't make a foul shot to save her life, right? And I want them to work on their foul shots. Myself and my assistant coaches would never just say, just try harder. No way. We would fix the actual mechanics, change her elbow, make sure she's following through, fix her feet, line them up with the basket. Little things that, quite honestly, my dad taught me when I was probably in the 7th grade. We trained the skill itself. Little mechanics changes to make sure that this was done correctly. And we repeated it with reps. Once I was in deep training my son and I started doing these things with my students at school, And then I'm thinking about myself as a college athlete. I'm thinking to myself, why are we expecting ourselves, we're our athletes, to perform under pressure without ever training the brain that's actually controlling the performance? We spend hours in the weight room or practicing those skills like the foul shot, hours watching film, almost no time training what happens between our ears when that pressure shows up, when that voice creeps in and the self-doubt chatter takes over. That's the missing piece. Mental training isn't about fixing broken people. It's about giving capable people better tools. High performers, we don't usually need more grit. We've got plenty of it. What high performers need is a way to recover faster, to reset after that mistake, to be able to stay focused when everything around them feels chaotic, to teach your brain what to do when that pressure shows up instead of hoping that we figure it out in the moment. If you ever told yourself, or you hear your athletes saying, I'm fine, I'm good, I can handle it, I want to leave you with this one question. What if you spent your whole life proving that you could survive the pressure, but you never actually trained for it? Those are two very different things. Learning these tools did not make me weaker, didn't make my son weaker, doesn't make you softer. It made me a better teacher. It made me a better mom, a better coach. I know that if I would go back in time, I would have been a better college athlete. Quite honestly, it has made me a better human being. You don't get extra points for suffering in silence. You get better results when you start to learn these skills so that you can perform under pressure instead of simply trying to survive it. That's exactly why I'm so passionate about teaching this work today. If you're ready to do this for your team or as an individual athlete, or maybe it's your business setting and you want to teach the people in your team there, send me a message. Everything is in the show notes. Go down there. You can email me, go to my website. Let's talk about this so you can figure out what the next steps are. Have an amazing rest of your day. I'm rooting for you always.
Thank you for hanging out with Kate today. And whether you're going to coach, teach, cheer from the sidelines, or hitting the field yourself, remember, mindset is everything. Don't forget to follow the show for the latest episodes, as we all need a little extra motivation, humor, and sanity in our busy lives. Now, go and unleash your champion within you, one step at a time. We're always rooting for you.